Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger and making his return, Robert Ziggy.
Yeah.
At the University of
The holdouts ended, boys.
Baby. So where are you right now, Ziggy?
I am in sunny San Clemente, California.
Sunny San Clemente, California. That's
West
where
Coast.
Robert Ziggy is.
West Coast, best coast, baby. West Coast, best coast.
So, yeah, we finally got to a contract deal with Ziggy, and let's just say Ziggy's getting quite a large amount of money now. It's a Justin Jefferson-esque deal.
No, let's just say he makes the JJ deal look puny.
Yeah, the Ziggy will be with us for a long time following.
Well, I'm not the quarterback of this show. It's called the Paul Farrington Show, but among non-QBs, I'm the most valuable. Sorry, Jeff.
Which is why we paid you.
Do you have one of those cameras where it tracks your movement right now?
Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it.
The
So there might be a little.
Yeah, you can really send it off.
Also,
so it's great having Ziggy back though.
We had our good friend Defective. He left a comment. He requested me to wear Oregon gear.
Do you have Oregon gear?
I had an Oregon hat, but I sold it a couple of years back, and I forgot that I sold it.
You sold an Oregon?
My friend he's a huge Ducks fan. So he's like, that looks sick. Like,
this must have been a great hat.
It was a cool hat. So I gave it to him for $150. But I do have
$150.
What?
Yeah, he's a huge Duck fan.
What was he doing? What was it signed by a? I don't even know.
No, it was signed by Mariota.
Oh.
No, kidding, it wasn't. But he's a massive Duck fan. So it was a nice Nike hat. Anyway, I gave it away.
Yeah, you gave it away.
I sold it. And I was debating wearing my Cannon Beach Oregon shirt, but I went with I went with some green gear. And my plan was to put my feet up on the tail, but I can't because I'm not that flexible. But I do have these Oregon Duck slippers for you, Defective. So just know I am wearing these. I'll take them both off.
Oh, jeez.
Put them on my hands, maybe.
We're already crowded behind this bar.
Go Ducks, baby. Ziggy, you're back. Let me hear you quack. Quack, quack, quack.
Absolutely not. When I lived in Oregon, I was a firm Oregon State fan. Go
really?
Beavers.
You're a Beaver? Interesting. I didn't know.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Ziggy's back. Time
it's
to
my
quack.
favorite animal, the beaver.
So I did know that, actually. I did know that. Beaver. That came up on an episode like a year and a half ago.
Put that away, Jack. I don't want to see
back. Time to quack.
You know, it's bad luck to have shoes on a table.
I mean, with my luck can't get any worse at this point. So,
jeez. Well, please remember, everyone, to like, comment, and subscribe. Ziggy's return should prompt. I mean, I'm imagining that subscription rate will go through the roof now that you're back on the shows. I mean, people know.
Ziggy,
people know.
Just quack for us once. Just quack. One time.
No.
Remember that you can become a member. Easily go to our homepage on the channel and click join. I believe we're at 44, 45 members right now. So we're right there hovering the 50 when we're going to do a merch giveaway. So if you go and become a member, I mean, look, the first merch giveaway we'll give, you'll have the best chances because it's only 50 members at this point. So remember, you could go and become a member there for, I think, $4.99 a month. Great deals. And obviously, we're going to have a lot of perks coming as the football season gets underway. And of course, you can always listen to us on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find the show. And we appreciate everyone who listens there as well. We're going to have a really fun show today. We're just going over some of the bigger stories. Again, we've been gone for what, like a week now? A week and a half, I think?
Week and a half.
So it's good.
Every time in the NFL offseason, I think, I can't believe we're going to get a show together. Nothing happened. But then you miss a week and it feels like the sky's falling.
Yeah, all of a sudden a bunch of stories happen, and it's there's always stuff going on in the NFL. That's why we do the NFL. For one, we really enjoy it, and two, it's a year-round sport. So we're going to hit on Mike Tomlin's contract extension, what Jack thinks of that, a Steelers fan. We'll hit a little bit about Joe Burrow, talking of injuries. Christian McCaffrey gets a big deal, and cover of Madden. Of course, Packers minicamp ended on Wednesday. They're not practicing Thursday, so there's a bunch to get to. We'll start with Aaron Rodgers, but before we do get into that, I did want to say, Jack, we said right at the top of the show, Jack tried a massage for the first time. I think, right? First time.
Yeah, I had a full body massage last Friday, and it felt amazing. It was Thursday night, and my sister was scratching my arm.
All right, I don't like any of this.
Well, and I'm like, oh, this feels good. And then she's like, you should get a massage. Like,
what?
She's like, massages feel amazing. I'm like, okay. Sure. So there's this place in the town, next to us. She first just did a pedicure.
I am still so thrown off by my sister's scratching my arm.
Well, I don't know.
It's like tying a game, Paul.
No. So we're
that's what I'm thinking. Right? I'm like, what's going on in the Weinberger?
We're just watching a movie. I'm like, you scratch your arm. She's like, sure. You don't do that? Like you don't you don't get arm scratches. Like
I've never asked my sister for an arm scratch.
What about a back scratch?
Yes.
So anyway, she suggested a
our subscriber rate is falling after that.
She suggested a pedicure. I'm like, I don't know about that. She's like, all right, get a full body massage. I feel amazing. I'm like, okay. And there's this place right in the town next to us called Thai Foot Spa.
We have no sponsors. We have no sponsors.
Okay, well, there's a place next to us. A good place. And they gave me a full body massage for a full hour for only $50. And it was amazing. They brought the lotions out, the hot rocks, a warm towel. They started on my shoulders and my back. I just did not want to get up.
Yeah, no, I tried it today. You turned me onto it. Yeah. I tried a massage as well, Ziggy, for the first time
ever. With my legs too.
It felt pretty good, but like it was funny when I first got in there. Like we're not massage kind of people. Like we just don't do that kind of stuff.
Oh, like this dark room, candle.
I walked in and I couldn't really understand what the lady said. She didn't speak English particularly well.
Just open the thing, like the hole to put your face in.
Yeah, I thought you said robe. Try this robe on. But it was just a blanket. So I was just sitting there and I turn and I look at a sign that says, no sexual favors. Do not even ask.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God. And I just sat there. I just sat on the stool sitting there. And she walked in. She's like, are you ready? I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, okay. I was like, I don't know. What am I supposed to leave my shorts? And she's like, all right, just lay down here. You'll be fine. So, okay. It was great. But I was motionless for the beginning.
Oh, so but you took your clothes off, right?
Just a shirt. Yeah.
Not your shorts?
Look, dude, I want no.
Oh, I was just in my boxers.
All right, let's get off.
I was boxers only.
I didn't know where this was going to go when I brought
this is ridiculous.
You're supposed to be in only boxers.
Let's go in. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers
or tighty whities.
Yeah, no, I wasn't taking any risks. Aaron Rodgers. So, I think Aaron Rodgers has been a pretty good teammate since he's gotten to the New York Jets. All things considered, he's been at most things. I feel like from his time with the Packers when he appeared disgruntled and more of a problem maker. I think that he's done a pretty good job in New York generally. So Saleh, spoke about Rodgers missing mandatory minicamp this week. He said that Aaron had a very important event to him, but he did make a point to say that it was inexcused. Like he made it very clear that Rodgers.
Well, there's a list of things that the NFLPA and NFL owners have collectively bargained for as being excused. Mm-hmm. So that's not up to a coach.
Yeah. But like again, he said selfishly, I'd love to have everyone at all these events. But Rodgers had an event that's very important to him. Came out on Wednesday. Diana Rossini reported that this was 100% Rodgers' choice to avoid it. She said that he prefers to be somewhere else away from football. And of course, that sent the New York media, everyone into a frenzy of how Aaron Rodgers isn't committed and what a horrible teammate he is. And I'm sitting back looking at all this, and let me know if you guys feel similarly. But Aaron Rodgers, this comes with Aaron Rodgers a little bit. You're going to have some drama. You're going to have a little bit of nonsense every single time. Yes, you would love him there, but the only thing that matters for the Jets is that come September 9th, he's playing football on Monday night against the San Francisco 49ers. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I'm sure he'll be amazing. I just watched The Last Dance. I rewatched it, the Jordan Bulls documentary. And, they're like Dennis Rodman would jet off places, but come back and then he'd play great. And it was just, Dennis was saying, I had to do my thing. Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's that eccentric. But, look, he's missing mandatory minicamp in June.
Oh, who cares?
I don't care. Like I don't care.
It's the beginning of June. Like I don't care.
Like
no, I looked at this and I didn't even give it 2 seconds of thought. I mean,
Rodgers went to all the voluntary stuff too, which makes this weird, but also counts against that he's just a jerk.
Yeah, I couldn't understand. I'm listening to all these people saying how in January. This was Rodgers' quote in January that everyone's throwing back in his face. He said, "It's not a half the time thing. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not a most of the time thing. It's an every time thing. If you want to be a winning organization and put yourself in position to win championships, be competitive, everything you do matters. And the shit that has nothing to do with winning needs to get out of the building. So that'll be the focus moving forward." I understand the people who say, okay, well, right after that, you were mulling over the idea, at least publicly, that you were going to run for vice president. And then now, you're missing a mandatory practice just because it seems like you don't want to. We don't know the event for sure that whatever event it is that maybe he's going to.
And who would want to?
Look, I just remember when Brett Favre was in and out of retirement. Brett Favre was basically missing all of training camp because at this point he was done with it in his career. Nobody made a big deal over it. Like when you're there in September, that's all that matters. I think that this is as little a story as possible for the Jets. Like, sure, it's a little distraction now because we're in New York, but I don't put anything more into this than like going, oh, okay, he's tired. He doesn't want to.
I mean, he's what? He's almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
He's 39. He's had a quite long career. I mean, it's the summer.
And he was a little hobbled at OTAs.
He's coming off an injury. It's the summer. I mean, I think if 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers, honestly, what is better for him to play his best ball in a couple months is to be relaxing, sitting by a pool. Like I don't think it's play football right now. I think it's relax, play a pool, drink some beer, and he'll be better in September than if you went to that mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. And Ziggy, sounds like you are completely okay with it as well. I thought you might be a little bit more upset.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal, right? He showed up for the voluntary stuff. He's missing a couple of days of practice. I think it tells you something interesting about how the NFL media works, right? Because this Aaron Rodgers thing where everyone knew ahead of time he wasn't going to be there and he's just sort of a guy, but he's a big name, is getting tons of attention. Meanwhile, Hassan Reddick, the guy they traded for, knowing he wanted a new contract, but thinking he'd show up and play, and he's actually a contract holdout, wanting one of the biggest deals for a defensive player in the league when the Jets desperately need him to play. That's getting zero coverage. And that's the kind of thing, the Jets need good players on defense. I think you'll forget they lost a few important players on our defensive line this offseason, in part to bring in Hassan Reddick on his big deal. If that's not getting any attention when that really matters, I think that's just silly.
Hassan Reddick, too, he's going to be 30 this year. Probably not going to get another huge deal. So who knows?
I mean, that's why the Eagles traded him coming off one of the best seasons of his career, right? Is he wants a $25 to $30 million deal. He wants to be one of the top 5 highest paid edge rushers in the league. And at that age, that's a tough contract for the Jets to hand out. So I don't know how they're going to handle that situation. But if you're interested in watching the Jets and paying attention to things that actually matter, look at that.
I'm trying to think. It's Danielle Hunter now. He's what, 30, 20? He's 29, about the same age as Reddick. So maybe getting a 2-year deal similar to Hunter. I'd have a hard time imagining them handing, like a 4 or 5 year contract. But maybe the Danielle Hunter is a model that the Jets will try.
Well, the difference is, and the difference is the Jets have traded quite a bit to get Hassan Reddick, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. They've given up on the defensive line. They moved some draft capital. So they need him to play. He has a kind of leverage that Danielle Hunter just didn't.
Yeah, no, Danielle Hunter actually was, if anything, kind of did the Texans a favor because he went into a situation where, he wanted to play D'Amico Ryans and Stroud. He wanted to be part of that organization. A lot of people thought Danielle Hunter took less money than he potentially could have gotten somewhere else to be part of, the Texans were viewed as a huge winner on that deal, especially given the season that Hunter just had with the Vikings. So we'll have to see how it plays out with Reddick, but you're totally right. No one's talking about that. It's just kind of, it's that last sentence at the bottom of the Aaron Rodgers article where it says Hassan Reddick was not present as well. And you're like, oh, that's a big name to just loop in there saying he's not there. So we'll have to see how all that works out for the Jets.
It's one thing if it was August.
Yeah, it's different in June. Like this is the time of year now where everyone who works in football, even like beat writers and podcast hosts, even us for crying out loud, we're like, all right, the next month we're probably going to take it pretty easy because we all know what's coming once you hit late July, early August. It's nonstop right up until the Super Bowl, or at least until, December, January for most teams, for every team. So, yeah, this is not the time to get caught up in any NFL news beyond it just existing.
If you do want to get caught up in NFL news, feel free to like, comment, subscribe.
Feel free.
Become a member. You can catch us on audio anywhere podcasts are available.
Yeah, that's not a glowing endorsement to be listening to this show in June. I don't know what it is.
Purchase our gear. Got a lot of gear that you could buy.
Yeah, at paulfarringtonshow.com. We'll be having more gear coming out soon.
Any gear recommendations or ideas too, please let us hear.
Maybe I should rephrase that and just say, this is the time of year these stories matter, guys. Like it matters this time of year. You should be paying attention to everything you see, especially on audio platforms and video like YouTube. With that said, so Joe Burrow, I love that. Tuesday, Joe Burrow spoke to the media. He reflected on his rehabilitation process. Remember, he tore ligaments in his right wrist in week 10 last year against the Ravens. People forget the Bengals were really coming on at that point too last season. They'd just beaten the 49ers. They were my pick to go to the Super Bowl before the injury. Burrow said, whenever the injuries start to stack up, your football mortality kind of comes into the back of your mind. So it's definitely something I've thought about and something that I've had to fight through. He did say that the difference between his approach to rehab this year and from previous years is that he said he's always tried to get back. He's prided himself on fighting through injuries and returning fast. He said that's not it for me anymore. I'm planning to get back September to February. I don't need to be back in June. Kind of echoing, what we just said about football, paying attention to football stuff in June. He's like, I don't need to be ready for June. I don't need to be ready for training camp. I need to be ready for week 1. And Joe Burrow is someone who can get away with that. Joe Burrow is a superstar in this league. And we all know the impact Joe Burrow has on the Bengals.
And we saw it. We saw it
last year. And we've seen actually, frankly, every single year he's played. I feel like we're almost underrating Joe Burrow and the Bengals heading into this season. But 2020, he gets hurt, tears ACL, rookie year, last in the AFC North. 2021, he's healthy. They lose in the Super Bowl. They win the AFC North. 2022, 12-4, he's healthy. First in the AFC North, they lose the AFC Championship game. And of course, last year, last place in the AFC North with the hamstring injury at the beginning of the year, the wrist at the end. They don't even make the playoffs. So since Mahomes has taken over in 2018 with the Chiefs record in the playoffs is 15-3. I mean, that's first off, that's disgusting. 15 playoff wins in 2018. I was just looking at these stats going, oh my God. Like, I remember every Viking playoff win in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than like a bunch of teams combined.
Oh, it's more than most of the league.
Yeah.
15-3. And the 3 losses he's had are to only Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. So, like, I truly believe that the Bengals are the biggest threat to the Chiefs, the three-peat when they're healthy. Like, I don't care about MVP Lamar. I don't care about Josh Allen. I don't care about the surging Texans. The Bengals are the one team in my eyes that can look across the field at Kansas City and not start shaking a little bit when they see Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed. And, the big question here is, how concerned are you with these injuries? As, Burrow said, it's hard to recover from them as they start to stockpile up. Are you guys a little worried about Cincinnati? And do you agree with me that they're the biggest challenge to Kansas City?
I mean, this is the only team. I agree with you there because it's the only team who's beaten them in the postseason. Mm-hmm. And honestly, probably should have beat them again in their home stadium.
They had the stupid penalty at the end.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen hasn't. Lamar Jackson hasn't. Cincinnati has. Obviously, when you have a quarterback who is prone to getting banged up, and it is hard to come back. Of course, it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's tough to really answer this until the first, 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season, and we're really going to see. For now, I'm going to say no. I mean, Joe Burrow's a young guy. It's one thing if it's Aaron Rodgers. I'm much more nervous about that.
Yeah, Burrow's 27.
Like Burrow's 27 years old. He's in his 5th year. So there's no concern for me. And I again think that he has to be not even 100%, but even just like 75%. And this Bengals team is still probably a top 4 team in the AFC with 75% Joe Burrow. But I'll answer it the first 3 or 4 weeks and you see how he looks. And then if he's turning it up halfway through the season, it's totally fine. But that like week 5 seems to be the turning point for the Bengals most of these years. So they go like 1-3. We're gonna pre-panic.
No, we're not overreacting on this show this year because if you go back in our show's history, you'll find Bengals are doomed video. Not this year.
But let's say he's like 1-3, right? Coming off an injury. Oh, here we go. Blah blah. What's important for me is those 5, 6, 7, the years he's turned it up in the past. Middle of the season, I guess early to middle is what would be the tell-all for me.
Gotcha. How about you, Ziggy?
See, the thing about Joe Burrow is it's true that he's turned it up in the middle of the season, but the reason for that has been he's gotten healthy around the middle of the season every time, right? Joe Burrow, when healthy, is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But there are very few players, Baker Mayfield is another one that sort of comes to mind, that has as big a gap between fully healthy and injured, right? The reason Joe Burrow was so bad to start last year is because of that calf injury, right? It wasn't that he was rusty.
Yeah, not half, he was calf, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's over and over again. We've seen it. When Joe Burrow gets hurt, he doesn't play well. And you certainly don't want to hear your guy talking about football mortality, who's had 3 surgeries on his throwing hand, has had every single ligament that can be torn in his, I can't remember if it's his right knee or his left knee, but in one of his knees torn, who suffered chest injuries, who suffered dislocations. Like, the dude just keeps getting hurt. I don't want to sound clickbaity, right? Because is the kind of thing that you can see on a big channel, but I do see a little bit of Andrew Luck here. They can't figure out the offensive line. He keeps getting hurt. And when you've got all that talent, it just doesn't matter if you keep getting smashed. And honestly, if you're Joe Burrow, right, think of how many days he spent in the hospital with knee surgery. How many more of these does he actually have it in him to go through after he's made a couple $100 million? I don't know.
Yeah, as I was reading these articles and just getting ready for the show, seeing what Burrow had to say, and they're just recounting all the injuries he's had. Joe Burrow's been in the league 4 years, and basically every single season he's played, he's been dealing with something. And now I know everyone deals with things in the NFL, but he's had 2 season-ending injuries in 4 years. I don't like when I think of injury-prone quarterbacks, Joe Burrow doesn't jump out into my mind, probably because, again, the last time we saw a season-ending injury was 4 years ago. But he is one of the more injury-prone guys in the league, and it's disappointing because when he's healthy, I think I probably put him at number 2 in the league, right behind Mahomes. If I'm ranking quarterbacks, I think he is that good. It's just, and this is a huge season too. I like the new approach of I'm not going to try and rush anything at all. I just want to be ready for week 1 because this is probably the last year that you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside. T. Higgins requested a trade. He's holding out, but he said he'll play this year.
He's going to play.
He's going to play. But that's a number 1 receiver for most teams. So is Jamar Chase. And this is probably the last time you have that trio. So if I'm a Bengal fan, I want Joe doing literally nothing that could jeopardize this wrist anymore to put week 1 in jeopardy at all.
And we talk about windows all the time on this show, and you wonder with what you just said how long the Bengals may be.
Was it Joe Burrow who said I am the window?
I'm not sure, but if he did,
it was Burrow. I think it was Burrow who said that.
Look, honestly, it probably is.
No, he is.
We saw last year that he is, but I mean, if it's an injury-prone Joe Burrow for the rest of his career, and then you lose one of those 2 X's on the outside, it's not the same Bengals team.
No, not there are degrees to which the window is open. I would say, anytime you have a top 5 quarterback in the league, you basically, unless you're the Chargers, you should have the Super Bowl window open. And this is a year where, as good as the AFC is, as loaded as they are with quarterbacks, outside of Kansas City, who is obviously the biggest juggernaut to overcome in the NFL, Buffalo Buffalo's not the best they've been. The Ravens have lost a bunch of pieces, still really good. There are still a lot of really good teams, but I think Cincinnati, if they're healthy, is right up there with everyone, and their offense is going to be amazing as long as everyone's okay. So it's an important year for the Bengals to stay healthy, as all of them are. But this is really an opportunity that they'll have. I think I picked them right now. They're currently my Super Bowl pick. I think
you had them beating the Niners, right?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll do another prediction show in the middle of the summer. But we'll move on now. Jack, I want to hear your opinion. The Steelers extended Mike Tomlin 3 years.
Doesn't matter.
And
it doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Oh, well, it
doesn't matter.
Oh, no, come on. Paul, you brought this up by asking Jack about a coach.
Well, I know a lot of Steelers fans
are
divided on Mike Tomlin, which we've always kind of found absurd on this show. No losing seasons in 17 years, 7 AFC North titles, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 11 playoffs. It goes on and on with Tomlin, 10 double-digit win seasons. And it's crazy. I always forget this, but you guys have only had 3 head coaches
since 1970.
Yeah, 1969. You hired Chuck Noll, then went Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. I looked. The Browns have had 21 coaches.
That's one of the most outrageous stats in sports to me.
Well, yeah, it's
us having 3 coaches in the last 55 years.
Yeah, 55 years, 3 coaches for the Steelers. And it's funny how you always, what are the 2 blue sky franchises we talked about? The Steelers and the Packers, right? Everyone's always trying to emulate them, and no one can get there. But how do they act differently? Well, they're not they're patient. They keep guys around. They don't just throw quarterbacks away after a couple bad games or a bad season. They don't just throw coaches to the curb immediately. Everyone wants to be like these teams, but really no one actually acts like them. Where in the NFL, everyone's still human. There are ups and downs for literally every single person. And I'm looking right here. Steelers fans aren't happy a lot of times with Mike Tomlin, but you were 12-4 just 3 years ago in 2020, and then Ben fell off a cliff, and Kenny Pickett didn't work out, and you still made the playoffs.
No, but this is what I always say. I've always liked Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to me though that you've had 3 bad years, and you've made the playoffs in 2 of them. And I just think back, all right, look at the Broncos since Peyton Manning. Look at the Patriots since Tom Brady. Look at the Saints since Drew Brees. Mike Tomlin is one of the great stabilizers. Yeah. In all
stabilizers.
Stabilizers. Yeah, that'll be the blooper section.
Stabilizers.
People think I'm an idiot. People think I'm the idiot.
God. Stabilizers.
Want to sip a Coors Light? Ziggy, I'll pour it to you across the coast. Ready?
I think he perfectly deserves the extension.
Taste the mountains. Taste the mountains. Taste the Midwest, Ziggy. Taste the mountains. Taste the Midwest. Here it is. Open your mouth.
So you're a Steelers fan?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
You're happy with this?
Yeah, I mean, I and where I stand on coach for the most part. I really don't think it matters much, but I do like Mike Tomlin. I think the players like him. I've always been a fan. He really did win me over completely on how he was able to keep everything with Antonio Brown inside the locker room for years and coach and coach that nut job. I just think that he brings out the best in what he's given and the cards he's dealt and the hand that he plays with. I think he maximizes the potential on what they can do. A lot of other coaches with, let's say last season with Pickett getting hurt and struggling and Mason Rudolph the last 3 games went out and go to the playoffs.
Yeah, let's be real. That team had no business going to the playoffs.
Ever since Big Ben has left, and even the last couple of years, Big Ben, when he took a huge spill, like you said, when he wasn't nearly himself, when he was old and beat up, this team was quote unquote, I guess, bad, but in the bad years, they're over 500. This team had
no bad years.
Yeah, you really I haven't seen a losing season. So teams that really haven't been all that great with not great quarterback play, the most important position in football, they've been in the postseason. Mm-hmm. And then teams that were capable of winning the Super Bowl went far, but what the problem was? It was the Patriots dynasty. So I don't understand Steelers fans who tend to knock Mike Tomlin because I've always been a massive fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think it speaks to a more general trend of in my view, completely undervaluing the regular season, right? Because it's true. Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in what is it, Jack? 7 years
since.
But our team has not been that great.
I mean, they haven't been. They made the second round in 2017, but I don't. You guys, I think had a bye, right? that was Jacksonville.
Yeah, we had a bye.
So they haven't won a playoff game in 7 years.
The Dolphins
and I get that that's bad, but if you look at regular season wins, they've got 57. The Eagles have 56. The 49ers have 58. So they're right up there with a lot of good teams. I don't know. I was reading a piece from Mark Madden early today, a Steelers beat writer, and he went on and on about how Mike Tomlin's a fraud and a total failure. And he let Antonio Brown ruin the team, and he ruined Big Ben, and he's ruining TJ Watt. And the man doesn't know how to coach. And it was his fault they drafted Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett was terrible. And it's his fault they haven't taken a left tackle in the first round in the first 2 years, or in the last 2 years. So this is what Steelers fans complaining about Tomlin sound like to me. They're just pointing at every single thing that goes bad, saying that's his fault, and every single thing that goes well and saying he didn't do anything. The fact that the man consistently wins in the NFL without having elite quarterback play, that he got a quarterback, or that he got a Super Bowl in the AFC in the Tom Brady era, the dude's good at coaching. I don't know what more people want. And realistically, I know Steelers fans get tired of hearing this, but it's very hard to find a coach as good as him. It's even harder to find someone better. And there are maybe 2 or 3 coaches in the NFL, if you could have anyone, that are going to be as good at him as him. There'll be maybe 5 coaches in the next 20 years that come out of the ranks that'll be as good as him. You're probably not finding those guys.
Oh, this is where my take comes into play a little bit. Is I think the players are much more important, and you can only take a team to a certain level. Whereas if you replace like Mike Tomlin with Andy Reid and you have Mason Rudolph a quarterback, it's the same thing. Where if you have like Mike Tomlin coaching the Chiefs, he still wins. But like Mike Tomlin was good enough to coach a team that hasn't been that great with mediocre quarterback play at best and has maximized what they could do.
Yeah, no, I won't disagree with you at all on your. I know that your like coaches don't matter take kind of gets blown up, but I don't think anyone would disagree that players are more important than coaches. But considering what Tomlin has done with the rosters, like you said that he has, that's where coaching does coaching matters. So like without Mike Tomlin there, if you replace Tomlin, you said Andy Reid. Andy Reid's also arguably the best coach in football right now. If you replace Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin and Steelers with if you replace them with an Urban Meyer, so to say, or whoever bottom 10 coach in the league, I think that the Steelers team's 5-6 wins. Like I don't think they're sniffing the playoffs, but Tomlin can get the most. Like as you just said, like he gets the most out of players, and we mentioned they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. Like they're not there right now. But if you give Tomlin, obviously he's shown in his career, if you give him the resources, he can get you to the AFC Championship game, to the divisional. It's tough when the AFC keeps having dynasties run through it. But Mike Tomlin's as good a chance to win as anyone in the league. I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Yeah, and I think for the most part he does a good job at controlling the locker room. I think people like to play for him. We've seen numerous occasions, both pro and college, where there's been a team that can have talent. And this is where you don't like a coach, when there's a team that has talent and they fail miserably because he knows something behind closed doors is going on. That doesn't seem to happen with the Steelers. And Mike Tomlin kept what did happen behind closed doors for about 6 years.
He's phenomenal. And we'll see what happens. Russell Wilson's talking about finding the fountain of youth. Like this is one of the more talented Steelers rosters now over the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All indications are that if Russ or Justin Fields plays well, the Steelers, even though no one's really talking about it, they always seem to find their way back into the playoffs. I understand. I really do get the people who are tired of being the 7th seed and getting crushed in the first round. But until the roster's built up a little bit,
it's not Tomlin's fault. There hasn't been a quarterback who can beat the Bills or the Chiefs.
After Ben left out. Now look, there were a few years with Ben where you probably wish that you could have gotten a little bit further. The Jaguars game we just referenced,
that was horrible.
Like that was a great Steeler team.
It wouldn't be the Patriots anyway, though.
Yeah,
we lost to the Patriots once with injuries.
So, a couple more topics here before we wrap up. Ziggy mentioned Christian McCaffrey. He's like, how can we not talk about Christian McCaffrey today? Because he received a 2-year, $38 million contract extension with the Niners. $19 million a season now is $4 million more than the second highest paid running back, which is Alvin Kamara at $15 million per year. Saquon makes around $12.5 million. I was curious. I wanted to go double check where Saquon's at.
Ziggy makes like 10.5.
Ziggy's making $36 million.
36 million. Yeah, 36 million.
I look at the McCaffrey contract in many ways, and I kind of think that it's a steal for San Francisco still at $19 million. Is that crazy, guys? When you talk about the impact McCaffrey has, how many running backs in the league are the heartbeat of their offense? Saquon's in Philly now, so I wouldn't say him anymore. He was for the Giants. Derrick Henry was for the Titans. Now he's in Baltimore, and he's not. I think he's the only running back in the league who you say he is the absolute heartbeat of that offense. And at $19 million a year, when Justin Jefferson's getting paid $35 million a year as a receiver and the receiver market's booming, I view this as just a huge win for San Francisco.
I think it's a lot for running back.
But he's different.
He is different, yeah. But I don't know if I pay running back that much money.
McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I like number one in rushing yards per carry.
Look, I think it's a lot.
Running backs.
I think
second most rushing touchdowns. Number one in receiving touchdowns. Number two in receiving yards for running backs. Like the dude's in a different category right now.
He's amazing, but I think that you can put a lot of other guys on that team to play running back, and they'd be just as good.
No, but we know that's not true. When Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, the 49ers offense shuts down.
Not just as good, but like serviceable. I know a lot.
Serviceable is different from just
no, but
but that even serviceable isn't true. Go back to last season.
For a lot cheaper is equal to just as good. Like that's a lot for a back.
Here's what you should do if that's what you think. What you should do is go back. Shanahan got a lot of production out of no-name running backs, right? Go back and watch the 49ers offense of those guys. Then go and watch the 49ers offense after they traded for Christian McCaffrey. Then watch the 49ers offense after they traded for Christian McCaffrey while he was hurt. And you will see it is a completely different story when he is healthy and playing. The things he lets Shanahan do, he is the most important player on that offense.
But
period.
It's been the same
no one's
thing.
more important.
The Niners without McCaffrey went to the Super Bowl, lost. NFC Championship, lost. Okay, you get McCaffrey, Super Bowl, lost. Like this team is so good with so many weapons. I don't think gotta pay running back $19 million.
I completely. I mean, he was an MVP guy.
But like they have an arsenal of weapons.
Yeah, but he is the most important one.
I mean, they've gone just as far without him the past 2 years. I mean, he's fantastic. I don't think he's needed on San Francisco for that much money.
I mean, what they made the Super Bowl in so they made the Super Bowl this past year, and then it had been 3-4 years prior they made the Super Bowl, right?
No, it's 3. No, it's
well, I mean, here's what you should do, right? In 2022, when they didn't have Christian in 2022 when they didn't have Christian McCaffrey, 20 points a game. With Christian McCaffrey, 30. Right? 2023. Without Christian McCaffrey, I mean, they didn't have a full game without him, but the offense didn't look good without him. With him, it looked incredible. The on-off splits of this player, 10 points per game, Christian McCaffrey, and you can watch it. He actually contributes that much value. There's a reason why he's going to be the highest paid player at the position for 7 or 8 years in a row.
I swear, if you give me the ball behind Trent Williams, I go over the century mark every game.
The 49ers offensive line isn't even good. They've got a solid left side, a terrible right side, and McCaffrey works.
I think 19 mil is so much to pay a running back. I think it's so much. I think there's a Super Bowl team without Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but like with him, like sure, they didn't win a Super Bowl worthy team, but like I don't understand why you think McCaffrey isn't a huge difference maker. Every number indicates that.
I think McCaffrey's awesome, but I just think it's too much to pay a running back. I think it's one of the most not useless, but less important positions.
Like, do you watch the 49ers play?
Yes, and I think he's very good, but I don't think he's needed.
But this is the thing:
that's a lot of money for a running back.
I don't think.
Well, but this is why Christian McCaffrey's getting paid so much, right? He's not just a running back.
Put anybody back in your O-line for cheaper. You have a good quarterback, good receivers, a great defense. Build your O-line for cheap and put anybody back to play running back.
For the money you are paying Christian McCaffrey, you can't just get a good offensive line. Meanwhile, they have the opportunity to get a guy who adds 10 points per game to their offense. I don't know why they wouldn't play him. I don't know why they wouldn't pay him, and I don't know why they wouldn't keep him. Because when you look at him as just a running back, yeah, sure, maybe that doesn't make sense. But he's so much more than that. He contributes so much value to this offense. There's a reason why. I don't know. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about somebody looking at Christian McCaffrey. When was the last time there was a player who for 5 years or more was the highest paid at their position? Right? Because you see this over and over again, right? The next guy up's a market resetting deal, a market resetting deal, a market resetting deal. When was the last time we saw this kind of contract dominance from a player?
I just don't think that.
Did you listen to the stats Ziggy said?
Yeah, I think he's very good.
Yeah, like 10 points a game difference with him. Like, yardage is through the roof change. Like everything changes when he's in and out. Like all the stats, everything supports that.
Did they win? No. Like
it's not about, I mean, they ran into Mahomes.
Yes, it is about winning.
No, I mean, it's not about like, did they win the Super Bowl?
They ran into Mahomes without McCaffrey and should have won it.
Does Joe Burrow deserve his contract?
Like it's the same thing.
Does does Joe Burrow deserve his contract?
Yeah, quarterbacks are different. Quarterbacks are huge. Yes, I think running backs are much less valuable than quarterbacks.
Does Jefferson deserve his contract? $35 million a year. He reset the entire market.
I think receiver's more important than running back. Yes.
I think it's really weird that you're using the Super Bowl game to say Christian McCaffrey's not valuable when he had 160 of the team's like 350 yards and their only touchdown.
I don't think he turns them from a non-Super Bowl team to a Super Bowl team. I think they're a Super Bowl team without him.
I don't know if they beat Detroit.
They're paying him a lot of money.
I'm not sure they beat I'm not sure they beat Green Bay or Detroit without McCaffrey last year.
Get a good O-line and put him in a running back.
That's just not. It's just not how it works.
Yes, it is.
You can't just get a good offensive line for $15 million a year.
We run with Rashard. Look at all the running backs who won Super Bowls. LeGarrette Blount, Rashard Mendenhall. Like it's not these superstar running backs.
Again, they don't have Patrick. Like, they don't have Tom Brady. They don't have Patrick Mahomes. Like they have Brock Purdy, who's good. But
rattle off running backs who won Super Bowls.
But Jack, are you actually telling me you'd rather have Robert Hunt than Christian McCaffrey? Is that your position? Robert Hunt contributes more than Christian McCaffrey.
Quarterbacks are more important. Receivers and an O-line. To me, I don't care.
Okay, so your argument is Christian McCaffrey is less valuable to the 49ers than Robert Hunt would be on the right guard.
Who was the Titans' best player for a number of years? Derrick Henry? When a running back's your best player, you don't win.
I mean, the 49ers' best player is a running back. I don't think he's the most valuable player in the Niners. Rattle off the running backs who've won Super Bowls. But you're talking about the quarterbacks of those. Obviously, quarterbacks more important, but the teams that win Super Bowls have great quarterbacks.
I think if you take McCaffrey off Stanford, I think it's still win a Super Bowl.
No, because Brock Purdy is not Tom Brady. Brock Purdy is not Patrick Mahomes.
It's pretty hard to win games when you start scoring 10 points per game less.
Purdy won the NFC Championship last year. They got hurt.
He's awesome. Yeah, again, that team was McCaffrey on that team as well.
Purdy also got injured.
Like if you take McCaffrey off of the 49ers, they're still a good team, but he is a huge piece.
Like this team made it without McCaffrey, and Purdy's better than Jimmy G.
That was 4 years ago, though.
Yeah, I think this team's better now than they were then, even without McCaffrey. Like this team could win it without Christian McCaffrey. Like why pay him 19?
Because he makes them almost unbeatable.
But I think 19 million is crazy for a running back.
Yes,
I think it's the most worthless position on the offense.
I think most people would agree with you on that.
Build an O-line, receivers, quarterback, fine, you can win. Running backs, you don't need.
I think there are a few guys in the league who are different than the average running back.
I don't think you need running backs. I really, really don't.
Well, we'll see what the comment section says.
Oh, I'm going to get blown up for it, but I don't think you need running backs.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right, Jack. They can play Christian McCaffrey, who adds 10 points per game on offense and averages 5.5 yards a carry, or they can put in Elijah Mitchell, who averages 3.7 and adds 0 points per game.
Yeah, I can't really argue if when you watch 49ers play, it is if you just watch it, it's like they are almost unstoppable with McCaffrey, and then with anyone else you plug in. Like they're still a good team, but it is a different. There's a huge difference.
I think it's too much.
You are right that there are a million players around the league where people say, "Don't look at their position; they're a weapon," and they sort of just say that and don't really mean it. Christian McCaffrey actually makes that true. That's why he's earned this contract. That's why the 49ers are happy to re-up. Unlike every other mega running back contract, they didn't cut him early; they extended him. This isn't Ezekiel Elliott. This is a completely different player. He deserves it, and he's going to be great with him.
So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
we disagree. I think it's too much to pick Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. We'll wrap up today's show. The Packers minicamp wrapped up on Wednesday. Usually we go to Thursday, but because they're playing in Brazil. And did you guys see Josh Jacobs? I thought Josh Jacobs talking about the Packers playing in Brazil was so funny when we mentioned, or Ziggy was really, I think, the first person in the world to mention that the stadium they're playing in doesn't allow the color green due to the rival soccer team. So they're talking to Josh Jacobs about going down to Brazil and saying how apparently the gangs down in that area in Sao Paulo don't like when you wear the color green. So the NFL is not letting the Eagles or the Packers wear green for that game. And Josh Jacobs why are we here? Why are we going to this game? Why are you sending the two green teams to this area where the gangs are not going to be happy that they are, green affiliated teams? I thought that was just so funny. But the Packers at minicamp right now. So Jordan Love had a comment on the wide receivers, and he kind of echoed what we've been saying this entire time. He said, "I think you don't have to have a number one receiver. I think it works out well when you can spread the ball out and you got different guys making different plays and you can put them in different areas. I think it puts a lot more stress on the defense and the calls that they can get in. So I think in the long run, it helps us not having a number one guy, a true number one guy. But I think all those guys can step up and be the number one on any given day." And the important thing here is that obviously they had a guy like Devontae Adams. I think I know we argued this before, but I think the Packers they'd be fine if Christian Watson turned into a dominant number one this year. But given what they have right now, since all four of those guys are so good, so talented, what I think Love is really indicating here, he's saying we have four dudes who, they can take over on any given day. And that makes us scary because you can't just focus in and say, okay, if we're playing Vegas, let's shut down Devontae and make someone else beat us. On Green Bay, it's like, okay, we're gonna try and stop all of them, and you really can't.
Oh, they don't need this is their crew, and they're ready to go, and then they're geared up. They don't need Devontae Adams.
I mean, Paul, you and I have seen this, right? Like watching the Vikings, Justin Jefferson gets doubled on 30% of the plays, and especially before he had Addison, it's tough to produce. He's able to do it, but you have to be the best in the NFL to produce in those circumstances. Yep. If you double Christian Watson, 3 other guys are going to be open.
Yeah, it's and even picking the Vikings, like with Hawkinson, Addison, the Vikings can get you in other ways too. But there are some teams where if you're shutting down the number one guy, you're begging for a third option. And most, like even the Vikings, the Vikings at receiver are begging for a third option for multiple years now. When you have 4 dudes who could come in and any one of them could go for over 100 yards, 120 yards some games, it's really stressful for any defense. Then when you couple that with Josh Jacobs in the backfield, that's where Love's getting at when he's saying, we can attack people in so many different ways, and you really can't game plan around one dude since they can all get you.
I remember for so many years of watching Antonio Brown, how he would draw doubles and even triples. And
remember we had Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith,
like bracketing him.
Bracketing.
Yeah. And it's absurd. And only a guy like that occasionally was able to break those. And then I remember Juju's rookie year as the number 2 was also very good. And I was like, dang, like if we had a legitimate number 3, this would be unstoppable. And I'm not comparing these guys to Antonio Brown, but these are 4 very good young receivers. And again, it's tough to really put more than one guy in any one of them.
Well, think about it too, because when Antonio Brown left the Steelers, remember how like a lot of the guys that we thought were going to be great all of a sudden weren't as good anymore, where you have different coverages around different dudes. If the Packers, like having 4 guys who can attack you, it's almost like having a 1 in some sense, where you can't, like you have to treat everyone on an island basically, because each player can win individually. You can't lean off of one guy because he'll burn you.
And these guys are young, fast, the best shape of their lives right now.
Oh, the one thing that I'm seeing, like, and I'm kind of getting tired of seeing it as a Viking fan, but I'm reading all about the different Packers, and we all know the one thing about them: a young, hungry team. That's what you just said. That's what literally every article says. That Quay Walker loves the Jeff Hafley defense. This team is so united. He says it's like my Georgia Bulldogs teams. You can feel the energy surging around this team. Carrington Valentine apparently bulked up to 200 pounds, and everyone's talking high on him. Every single thing around the Packers is a young, hungry team that's really focused. And it's encouraging for Packers fans because there really is no deviation from that story. The only sort of distraction is when Jordan Love's contract is going to get done. And all indications seem to be that that'll happen before training camp. So up and down Green Bay, the minicamp reaction to me was they're in a perfect spot to go and contend.
Low key, very low key, super low key. Because I love the Packers now, but I mean, a small part of me, I would find it very, very funny to just watch the Lions roll this division. after all this offseason.
Oh, I think it'd be
after all this offseason talk and hype, and Detroit's just, everyone's talking about Detroit. They're also very good.
Well, we've all said on this show, I think that Detroit.
Yeah, we have.
I think all 3 of us
said picked Detroit to win the North. Yeah, we have. No, it's going to be fun. Like, I can't wait.
I love when we talk about the Packers. Ziggy's just here with a light smirk, like happy to be along for the ride, and just can't believe what he's hearing.
Ziggy,
I'll tell you this. What stood out to me, I know Jordan Love is getting a lot of attention, and there's that, and fair enough. The thing that stood out to me from the Packers, actually, that I'm watching is some defensive players have been talking about Jeff Hafley and the new scheme that's coming in, right? And Preston Smith came in and said things are totally different. In particular, as an edge rusher, the new scheme is letting him focus much less on run contain and much more about getting after the quarterback. So if you're a Packers fan, you should be watching. There's some big changes happening on defense. Quay Walker is saying things are different. Preston Smith is saying things are different. Guys who have been around for a little while and have seen things go belly up. There's quite a bit that is interesting happening here. And again, if Hafley's able to figure it out and get this team some sacks, the hilarious Lions running division situation may not actually happen.
No, that's the one thing with Green Bay is if the defense does figure itself out, now we're talking.
And it could be lights out.
Yeah, now we're talking about like, all right, it's going to be a hell of a battle. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Detroit at all. Even if Green Bay clicks, I do think the Green Bay ceiling is a little higher than Detroit's, but that'll be an insane division battle. The one thing though that I would say is actually consistent across the entire Packer team, if you were gonna, because we're generally pretty positive about Green Bay, and people get on us for that sometimes, but it's truly we're just looking at we're just reacting to what we see, and it is all positive right now. The one thing though I would say across the entire organization is that it still has this "I'll believe it when I see it" like vibe to it, where okay, is Love really gonna I'm looking at these last 10 games when he was 70% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, I'll believe that he is an MVP for the full season when I see it next year. Do I think it'll happen? I think he's going to be really, really good. But I'll believe it when I see it. Like the Packers defense, they got excited about Pettin when he came in and was the defensive coordinator. Joe Barry, like we've had off seasons with Green Bay defensive coordinators where they've been excited before and it doesn't work out. I'll believe it when I see it. Do I think all 4 of these receivers are going to dominate the way people are hoping? Like, I'll believe it when I see it. They got to stay healthy. But if it all comes together, and I think each one of those individual things leans more towards, yes, it will work out than no. Now we're talking about the team that everyone says can win the Super Bowl.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I said, what I think would be a success for the Packers this year. And that's just getting back to where they were last.
Yeah, no. And again, a lot of people agreed with you.
Like a team who's way, way, way ahead of schedule and super young. Just show that it wasn't a flash in the pan. Just repeat that, and everything else beyond that is gravy. And then take the step up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What did you think of that, Ziggy? I don't know if you saw the episode when we put that out, but I said success for the Packers would be getting to I think it's taking another step forward to the championship game. And Jack said, just repeat, get to the divisional round, and show you're a success.
I think repeating, and Packers fans can talk about this in the comments if they want, but from what I've heard and what I think, if you can win a playoff game this year in the wild card round, either winning the division, like if they get the 1 seed and lose, or if they make the divisional round through the wild card round, in either case, showing that you can do that Jordan Love is that guy, that the defense is probably improved.
Yeah.
That is a successful season. And when you make your standards for a successful season being one of the 4 best teams in the NFL, not even just that, right? Getting lucky, making that's hard. That's a high standard. That's very hard to reach. And though I think the Packers can, they don't have to have a successful season. Jordan Love is being asked to do a lot more this year, right? I read about this. He's being asked to call plays in the 2-minute drills, just like Aaron Rodgers did. The playbook is opening up, just like it did for Rodgers. LaFleur is seeking out his input. He has a huge step to take. And taking the step from good to great is much harder than taking the step from okay to good. If they make the divisional round again, it means he probably did that, and they have something to be excited about.
I feel like it's a national holiday whenever Ziggy agrees with me. Okay, it doesn't happen often at all. But when he does, it feels pretty good.
No, I think you guys are absolutely I think you're right.
I guess there's no right or wrong answer.
No, I like part of, I would like to see them go a little bit further, but if I were a Packers fan and they have,
you would what?
I said, if I were a Packers fan, they got to the divisional round, yeah, I would be.
Yeah, that's not the first thing you said.
What did I say?
The first thing you said was, I'd like to see him go a little bit further.
Oh, no. If I were a Packers fan, I'd like to see them go.
Okay.
For them to have success. So
if
no, yes, absolutely. What are we talking about? An ideal world for me is that, week 4, the Vikings go into Lambeau Field and just stop them. I'd love to see, if anyone, hey, Packers fans, go.
Now we're there.
Go watch some of these JJ McCarthy highlights. A couple of these throws, pretty crisp right now. You might should be a little nervous.
Ziggy, who do you have in a beer chugging competition, me or Wisconsin?
Hold on, the average person in Wisconsin, or is Wisconsin sending their best?
No, when you go up to Green Bay, right?
You walk into a bar in Wisconsin.
Walk into those the
You're getting destroyed.
You think so?
If they can pregame it and destroy you.
You think there's value on me plus 2,000?
Sure, yeah. Plus 2,000. They might have an off day.
I mean,
but I'll say this.
He would throw up. Jack will 100%. If we Jack I've seen you yak off of far less than.
I yak off all the time. Paul, you saw me at the grab party. I booted, but I rebooted. You boot and rally. I invented the boot and rally.
One last thing I feel I need to say is I know we talked about Josh Jacobs and his shenanigans. I do want to make clear Josh Jacobs sent an apology to the country of Brazil. The teams will be allowed to wear green.
Oh, are they allowed to wear green?
Yeah, he was apparently misinformed.
I kind of like them not wearing green.
I mean, I think that would be sick. But this is the thing, right? Vikings running backs, they're good, honest folk. They get things right. Packers fans can come and say, Aaron Jones, he's a decent guy. Josh Jacobs, that guy has no idea what he's talking about.
I thought that was so funny when he's like, why are we here?
I also don't like Alabama running backs either. So I'm not a huge Josh Jacobs.
Jack, you don't like it. Jack, you don't like any running backs. You don't even like Christian McCaffrey.
No, I don't like Trent Richardson. I don't think Najee's that good.
Derrick Henry's good.
Warren's better. Henry's an exception.
You think Josh Jacobs let 1,600 yards 2 years?
Henry's like the Joe Namath. They're both exceptions to their positions at Alabama.
What do you mean? You think Jalen Hurts just went to the Super Bowl? He's pretty good.
He's Oklahoma.
Tua led the league in passing.
Hurts is Oklahoma. He got good at Oklahoma.
It's confusing. You're confusing. Football analyst.
Do you not remember Sean Alexander?
He was okay.
Sean Alexander ran for what?
Sean Alexander was an MVP.
Yeah, he ran for 30 touchdowns? I can't remember what it was.
Alabama quarterbacks are worse than Alabama running backs.
He ran for 27 touchdowns and 1,900 yards.
I didn't know he played at Alabama.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what you love about the Paul Farrington show. This is why Jack has to come on. Is we'll be talking about the Packers or whatever, and suddenly it's Sean Alexander, and was he a good NFL player?
How many colleges produce running backs other than Alabama?
I thought for some NC who produced Jalen Warren.
Oh, wasn't he Oak State?
Was it NC State? I don't know.
I thought he was Oak State.
It wasn't Oak. Was it Oak State? I don't think it was Oak State.
He transferred to Oak State from Utah State.
Yeah,
I don't know why I knew that on Jalen Warren.
Oak State,
that's a weird thing.
Chris Carson too is Oak State. He's pretty good.
Chris Carson's where you're drawing the line.
All right, let's get out of here.
Penn State.
Well, I got Saquon.
Yeah, it's bad. Miles Sanders.
Sanders is good. I mean, I think that most Bama running backs. Actually, Bama has pretty phenomenal.
No, Bama and USC quarterbacks suck, and you can't argue that.
Carson Palmer is really good.
I think instead of arguing that, we should call the show. This is getting out of control.
All right, well,
Caleb Williams sucks too.
It'll be great when we start having real football to talk about. We can only carry ourselves so much longer on this June content.
For some weird reason, Sean Alexander played at Indiana.
I had no idea.
Maybe it was red. I don't know.
Maybe I completely. He was before my time.
I saw him lose Super Bowl to Steelers.
Yeah,
I mean Sean Alexander, he was the hero of an Iron Bowl. 3 touchdowns.
I don't remember those. I remember his MVP season. I remember he's phenomenal. I have his card.
Us ending the show with
he got on the Madden cover for that, right?
He was Madden cover, yeah.
Us ending the show with this was probably plus
is McCaffrey screwed with the Madden cover?
No,
No. After being paid stupid money.
After paid stupid money, MVP caliber season,
and injury
Madden cover, he's
done.
Jack, if Christian McCaffrey has a good season this year, right, he overcomes the contract curse, he overcomes the Madden curse, the 49ers look a lot better with him than without him. Will you admit you were wrong?
Actually, let me ask, if he replicates last season, you have to think last year he was worth $19 million, right?
I don't know.
All right. All
right. Jack's just a clown. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
If they win the Super Bowl and he wins Super Bowl MVP, I'll admit I'm wrong. Is that fair?
That's not as implausible as.
No, it's not. It's
no. If he wins Super Bowl MVP and they win the Super Bowl, I'll admit I was wrong.
Okay. Look, if he wins Super Bowl MVP and loses the Super Bowl, you have to admit you were wrong.
No, he lost. He didn't do enough. He could have done more.
All right, we'll wrap up the show there. We'll see you coming up. We'll start having these. I think we're gonna do mailbags for a couple weeks. We'll have one show Tuesday, then a mailbag Thursday, and then we'll start picking it up once we roll into August and training.
Well, I mean, pretty soon it'll be time for divisional previews.
Yeah, the divisional previews are gonna start soon, so we'll map out the show. And
TJ Yeldon sucks too. He's a Bama running back.
Yeah, I mean,
Jack, you got to let us wrap up the show.
I gotta wrap it. I'm silent.
All right, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. It's good to be back. See you later.